You know, in one of my last videos I said MCU Quicksilver was the best live action speedster. I stated this unpopular opinion because of the 3 reasons you'll find when you watch the video, but the one character I forgot to mention was Makkari, another relatively popular speedster who appeared in the Eternals. Now it's not like I forgot this character, I just didn't want to watch her movie when making that video, and just decided to leave her out. But since the video did extremely well and the comments told me to, I guess I'll watch this video summarizing it and talk about her. Now if you've either been sleeping under a rock or ignoring this abomination of a movie like I've been, then I can imagine that you don't know who Makkari is or the fact that she was deaf. Yeah, watching this movie made me realize that Makkari is the first deaf live action superhero, although I do have to question the logistics of Makkari being both an Eternal and disabled, as well as how that factors in her superpower, but I guess that can be for another video. Anyways, let's get back to the main point here. You the viewer probably don't know who Makkari is or her history, so let me do you the favor of not watching this movie by giving you her background from both the movie and the comics. Starting with the comics. Makkari was originally a white guy who first appeared in, what issue was it? Thanks. Issue number 5 of the Eternals is where Makkari first appeared. He was also created by Kirby and Burston. His story is pretty standard for a Marvel hero, being born around 2500 BC due to the Celestials that inhabited the Marvel universe. For reference, they look like this. Ever since then, he's been protecting humanity and using high speeds as his way to do that. Obviously, he works alongside the Eternals and helps them stop their enemies called the Deviants. And here I thought this guy had a stupid name. And since this guy is, well, eternal, then that means he's been around and has seen both the best and worst parts of humanity. But he still decided that we don't deserve the asteroid, which now that I think about it, that's either a good thing or a really bad thing, because that would mean that he either thinks humanity is always worth fighting for, or that he just wants to see us suffer himself. Either way, humanity still comes out on top since we got guns and shit. So I guess there's no point in thinking about it. And since that was all I could gather from the Marvel database, I might as well go over 3 little fun facts about his character. Number 1, Makkari witnessed Dracula in action. Number 2, Makkari actually dated Cersei for like a millennia or 2, when he was a guy of course. And number 3, Makkari actually has other superpowers. He just only uses one of them because he's very one-track minded, much like me. Now that I've given you the comics, let me give you an analysis of every single appearance she had in the movie. All 8 minutes of it. Yeah, it turns out even if you're a black female who just so happened to be deaf, you're still not going to get more screen time than the Asian chick, or these two, which kind of proves this weird graphic to be true in a weird way. Now since Makkari only has about 8 minutes of showing why she probably deserved more screen time than these guys, let me just explain them in asshole terms. Scene number 1 is her just saving some caveman kid. Scene number 2 is actually speaking deaf. Scene number 3 is posing with the rest of the tools. Scene number 4 is fighting a bunch of monsters. Scene number 5 is casually speaking deaf. Oh, by the way, just a quick side tangent. This is when I learned the character was actually deaf. Yeah, it turns out when you have a movie so bad that it makes me feel bored just from hearing its name, it makes you not want to learn anything about it, or have something else on in the background when you finally watch it. But in this case, it was the other way around. Don't worry, I still watched the movie, all 2 hours and 35 minutes of it. I just had to have it in the background so I couldn't lobotomize myself. Alright, back to the scene explanation. Scene number 6 is this scene, and wait, hold up, did Makkari just get stabbed while using super speed? Scene number 7 is the classic Marvel group huddle scene. Scene number 8 is Makkari putting her powers to pretty good use. Scene number 9 is cringy flirting. Scene number 10 is by far the best scene in the entire movie. Scene number 11 is Makkari trying to support her team. Scene number 12 is a Power Ranger style suit up scene. Scene number 13 is bootleg Flash versus bootleg Superman. Scene number 14 is the final battle, and scene number 15 has the best shot out of the entire movie. And that's the most I could take when talking about this movie. So let's switch gears and move on to how well her adaptation is. Now I will admit, I do want to rate her adaptation a solid 2 out of 10 for all the reasons I'm listing right here, with the biggest being the fact that she feels more like a brownie point character than anything else. And it doesn't help that the original version of her character was a white guy, which is the same kind of situation as these two. And you know what, I'm just gonna go on a quick rant here. I wanted to talk about this whole Black Norman Osborn situation when it first came out, but I decided to sit on it for a while. Not just to let the information marinate so I can give a coherent perspective, but to also realize just how stupid the people who committed this act of blackwashing actually are. I mean seriously, what the hell did they think was gonna happen when they announced that 2 of the more popular Spider-Man side characters are being race swapped? And not only are they race swapping people who were originally white, but they're also race swapping people who end up as criminals. Way to uphold the stereotype, Disney. And are we not gonna mention how they just excluded a whole group of people for another? I mean, I thought Disney was trying to be more inclusive. I guess I forgot that's only when it benefits them. Now believe me, I'm not trying to get political here. We get enough of that with just Asmongold alone.
One time she told me she wanted to have a tongue so long that she could wrap it around my like a snake. You know? Oh my god. Hey Pa.
But what I'm trying to point out is how stupid these hand-me-down blackwashing characters actually are. If you want to give us a black character, then do that. And don't give us hand-me-down characters like these two, where the only thing you changed was their skin color. Alright, rant's over, back to the video. While I did say I wanted to give this character a 2 out of 10 in terms of adaptation, I'll play nice here and give her a solid 6 out of 10, given the fact that she's actually comic accurate to this version of Makkari, who also just so happened to be deaf, and a black woman. And if you want the story on how this happened in the comics, then let me fill you in. The way the writers justified this guy turning into this woman is... Of course, there are some other tidbits to it like and, but that's just for the people who want information that doesn't have any real use to it. Overall, the adaptation of the character is pretty okay since it covers all the bases, and it only starts to fall apart when you insert your own political beliefs on the character, or look at the original, or both. The story of Makkari in the movie is pretty much shoved to the background for the most part, and is essentially given the same treatment as the middle child when it comes to parental attention. I say that not because of her screen time, but because she has no real story going on with her outside of the main plot. Let me explain. You see, characters like MCU Quicksilver and Hulk from Age of Ultron had their own side plots expressed throughout the movie, either through scenes that used exposition, or other scenes that used the show don't tell policy of writing. Either way, we see these plots play out during the movie. So what, right? Well, turns out the closest thing we get to that from Makkari is this scene.
You know, you really don't have to do the whole thing every time.
Everything you do is impressive.
No, I know it's impressive.
Who are you?
I'm Eros. This is Pip. And you are as beautiful as legends say, Thena.
What do you want, lads?
Pip and I heads out, don't we? Your friends are in big trouble. And we know where to find them.
And this scene if you're into romance and fanfiction, as well as webtoons and DeviantArt.
This emerald tablet. My beautiful, beautiful Makkari. Did you miss me?
Makkari's character as a whole is a tool for these characters to flourish and the main plot to come to fruition. She had no real story outside of the main plot, and whatever little story she had was so disinteresting it made me want to sit back in my chair and watch paint dry. It's not the best waste of time, but it's a lot better than wasting your time rewatching any part of this movie for a YouTube video. Moving on to the presentation of Makkari's powers, I have to say this is the most interesting part of the movie, and it brings about the best scene in the entire film, which isn't saying much when you also have shit like this. Getting back on track here, the presentation of Makkari's powers is definitely a great representation of super speed, as it shows you the constant buildup of power that super speed has, while also making you feel the weight of each hit Makkari delivers. What's even better is that this presentation is only amplified by the CGI used, as it doesn't ruin or chip away at the presentation, unlike some other speedsters. Although I think my only complaint here is that there aren't any lasting environmental impacts caused by our powers. Let me explain. Most speedsters leave behind a trail, whether it be a blue blur or a red rush. In this case it's a golden colored trail. Of course, other speedsters leave a trace of their existence through the wind, or the streaks of lightning they generate, and some have specific sound effects tailored to them. However, there is only one speedster that leaves a lasting impact on the environment they've run through, and that speedster is X-Men Quicksilver. The answer is X-Men Quicksilver. Yeah, despite me shitting on this guy for like 2 or 3 minutes in this video, he actually does something really well that most speedsters typically don't or almost never do, and that's leave behind evidence like burnt tracks on their family's welcome home mat, or crater-like footprints when they literally run at the speed of light. Okay man, Jesus. The point is that with the presentation of Makkari gaining a ton of force through running at high speeds, calling it a missed opportunity to express this power through the landscape she runs on is an understatement, as the writers could have rubbed the only 2 brain cells they probably had together to create not only great representation of super speed, but to also have very unique concepts to it and utilize it in different ways. What if Makkari left a trail of burnt tracks behind every time she used her powers, and society started to catch on to her existence as an Eternal because of it? It would add a much needed interesting development within the plot while also keeping the tensions high within the story. You could also use it to connect to the greater MCU and have this movie feel like it didn't just come out of nowhere. And you could also use it to explain why Makkari would have to change her race or her gender. Oh, and it would also make the character of Makkari actually useful to the plot, as well as give her a decent enough side plot to work with. Something that goes on in the background but later turns into a powder keg within the story that has ripple effects that conclude within the final act of the film. But you know, that's just something that I thought of. Now I've gone over the 3 points that made up my last video, it's time for me to ask the $1 million question. Is Makkari better than MCU's Quicksilver?
Nope.
Yeah, this one was a no-brainer. I mean, yeah, Makkari has the adaptation down, barely I might add, given the fact that it's mostly because of that technicality I mentioned earlier, and you and I both know that her side plot isn't even close to enough to give her full credit for the story point. Now I bet you're expecting me to give her full credit for the power presentation category, but allow me to subvert your expectations once again, because there's a reason I call this section power presentation and not power consistency, and that's because of this scene right here. Now since we're towards the end of the video, I'm not going to go on a full tangent here, but I am going to say 3 things, and the last one's a question. Number 1, Makkari is the fastest known Eternal. Number 2, Thena may have superhuman speed, but it's not the same level as Makkari. Number 3, how the hell do you explain Thena being able to stab Makkari while she was using super speed? I'll let the comments sort this one out because I've been racking my brain about it and I still can't figure it out. Keep in mind, this is after I took NZT48. Real quick, if y'all enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe so I can flex on the hoes and the haters. Also, follow my socials so that you'll know when I post a new video. And if you really enjoy my content, then consider checking out my Patreon, where I give weekly behind the scene updates, as well as an archive for all my videos. You can also get your name featured on the end credits, as well as early access to the first 2 minutes of all my videos, which also include this one. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next week.